Greetings and salutations, all you truly stunning individuals. It is another epi of Lyon and Loud. Here to market with you guys. Day 4 now of First Stand. And let me tell you, there was a solid 90 seconds. I might even go 120 seconds, 2 full minutes, where we were watching Lyon and JDG and going, okay. Yeah, it was 2 minutes. I'll give it a full 2 minutes where they had a 2K gold lead, and that was the main positive from the series for North America.
And if that is our only takeaway from the series, you can understand it didn't go very well for North America. 3-0, GenG finding their way and making sure that everyone else finds a way to think less of the LCS after this one, which is unfortunate. But really, the answer is, how much do you think less of the LCS at this point is going to be one of those varying things to talk about, because the overwhelming power and skill set of GenG was on full display, and that is something that has to be considered in this type of equation for anybody, because what is anybody supposed to do against a GenG that simply says, all right, everyone pick a straw, who's going to be the dude today to pick up the MVP? And it turns out it's Keen, and you've got, autopilot Chovy, a semi-locked-in ruler, but it's all more than enough to dish out the pain to Lyon and the LCS.
Yeah, listen, Chovy, legit looked bored in this series. It looked like he's switching screens during scrims, going for a drink, while he's running back to lane. That's how autopilot he felt this series. Keen was obviously an absolute menace. And listen, Dokla, I respect it. Dropping the Irelia in Game 3. He had the Cassante in Game 1 and says, that's not enough. Let me cook on this guy. But that is not an NA Jace. That is a Korean Jace, and that is a 0-9 Irelia for Dokla.
Yeah, this one stings a little bit more, especially because I was feeling relatively good about Dokla heading into this matchup and his history on the international stage. This one's a stinker. This one is a dud from him individually as well. You can look at, of course, with everything else that goes on with the team for Lyon and how that plays out. Individually in his matchup to Keen in multiple games within this series, and especially this crucial Game 3 where you were hoping, again, of course, to make a miraculous stand pivot point. Anything but that in the top side within that Game 3 for that Aurelia Jace matchup.
I mean, it's equally or especially bold to go for that Irelia after what Keen did on Ambessa in that second game, to take that one over as well. But listen, Inspired tried, even the Xin Zhao game, even though he was dying a lot, he was trying to do some things. He had the moment on the Viego, but especially games 1 and game 3 really felt like a little bit of little brother syndrome for the LCS, where, it's the old GenG's holding you back with one hand saying, oh, look how cute. They're trying to do some damage. We're just going to dance around and all survive with 10% health and kind of just farm you guys over and over. I will give the LCS consistency, though. 25 minutes across all 3 games on average.
If we're anything but consistent here in the LCS, we'll take that. I think it really does feel like, all the Avengers ganging up to take down Thanos and giving them everything they got, all just for one scratch on the cheek, one drop of blood, except there's no scratch on the cheek. There's no drop of blood coming from GenG in this one. They come through clean, unscathed, and absolutely glowing after their performance here in Domination. This one's a tough one for the LCS, but it's not like we've not been here before, where you got to pick yourself right back up off the mat, because yes, you got a matchup to get focused for in the very next day, and it is very important that you do find a better level of focus performance than you had against GenG, because guess what? JDG is better than Loud, and you already went silver scrapes, full 5 games against Loud. JDG, it was a similar experience that you felt against GenG out there on the Rift, and that is something that you cannot experience 2 days in a row.
And that's, the key thing we talked about is, okay, are Loud and Lyon similar? Is JDG at the same level? Because after they got dusted by GenG, hard to actually grade, right? Now we see them against the same opponent that Lyon struggled against for 4 out of 5 games, and JDG come in and have the fastest game of the tournament. We were talking about a dancing Rift Herald at one point in that third game with how badly they beat them down. And you kind of saw the one-trick pony angle of Loud and CB Lol, and that is, let's find some kills to get a lead. And the macro game sense, objective play style, pretty non-existent, because we had a 0-0-2 Yunara with the 3k gold lead, because Gala was just farming plates all over the map. Anytime Loud would try for a play, JDG were answering in 2 different spots on the map, and there were like 4 kills at 17 minutes, and it's like a 6k gold lead. So this was more one-sided than the GenG Lyon series, and that's saying something.
And you know what? To be honest, I think everybody has experienced a little bit of this in their history playing League of Legends, right? You're always trying to find something, get some kills, get some action going in the game, try to snowball off of that, and you're going, wait a minute. Why is this top laner like 3 levels ahead of me? Oh, right, because you've been trying to mess around and get kills here or there, whatever type of thing. This guy's playing the actual game, the actual rules and sets as far as how you're going to level up, power up, all these type of things. It isn't simply just team deathmatch out there in one of these situations, and that's where your advantage comes through. Not the way that this thing is played out, and you saw that through JDG and the way that they were able to play through and punish a squad like Loud and punish a squad like Loud in ways Leon was not punishing Loud in their matchup. That's something that is absolutely very intimidating heading towards this next matchup for Lyon, where again, the answer is you have to level up, have to find a better, more consistent level of performance, and your opponent is going to be another stiff test on the day. It's not like it's going to be GenG, that's at least one thing, but it's not like you're looking at Loud either at this point. Again, you are having someone that is a real deal consideration on the international stage, and you got to show that you are the real deal on the international stage.
Yeah, and we'll do the 07 to Loud for, obviously host nation. Feel a little bad. There were not many angles to cheer about in their final series of the tournament, and this fully does just cement the peak of Split 1 was the America's Cup for the CB Lol.
I think it's gonna sting and be disappointing, absolutely, but it is one of those ones where, again, yes, take that extra step back, take a bigger look at the big picture. Think you could be happy about the CB Lol again. Yes, the environment of the crowd, everything like that. Again, all check marks. Yes, things we did know and assume about the CB Lol, but again, of course, very good to showcase to the rest of the world and everybody else. And then, as well as you mentioned, the America's Cup, getting that type of win, I think really is more so the true story about the CB Lol than the way that Loud kind of faltered here at this point in the tournament. I think if we saw, again, a lot of people thought Furia actually was the stronger team, that was going to come through. So these type of things kind of play into it a little bit more, and I think this is certainly something that hopefully Loud can use as motivation to redeem themselves later on at some international opportunities for the CB Lol.
And so GenG, of course, advances as Loud is eliminated. They're hanging out with BLG in the semifinals, and now right back on stage the next day for Lyon against JDG, and we already had the G2 versus BFX. Mark, if both squads get swiftly 3-0'd here, I don't know what to think about for the rest of 2026 and international events going forward.
I think at that point, you just need to make a pivot for 2027 that you understand, you know what? First stand, whatever first type of tournament, we can't go all international. We can't throw everybody in here. And I don't think this is one of those ones where you need to make an overreaction and you're starting to change MSI, starting to change the World Championship format and how these things play out and everything. I don't think we need to go that far just off of a tournament like this or the past, anything else. But it certainly would be something that would open my eyes, at least to first stand, being reworked around and refocused on what type of matchups we are looking for this early, this forward in the season would be something that I would say could be the conclusion if, again, BFX pumps, G2, if JDG steamrolls by a squad like Lyon.
Here's, we used to have actual regional final tournaments, right? To qualify for these international events where either it was NA or sometimes it was EU kind of mashed together. Maybe, again, depending on how the next rounds play out, maybe you're looking at the first international kind of being two concurrent separate events where you have the LPL, the LCK, and the big sandbox doing their thing. Maybe even throw in an LCP team. Sure, they can deserve it to get there. And then maybe we have like a NA, EU, CB LOL kind of smaller region thing going together for either future international implications or something like that. Either that or at MSI and Worlds, we need an extended play-in stage again to earn that right to be playing the LCK or LPL.
Yeah, it's something that I have seen thrown around the last, handful of years as far as international tournaments go and how you'd want to format, schedule, all these things. And I think one of the ones that has come through is just simply understanding that, yes, the LCK and then, lagging behind it or whatever amount you want to, describe is the LPL. But then you've got the LEC, the LCS, the LCP, CB LOL, everyone fighting amongst each other, trying to prove that they are that next challenger up, that next opportunity. That's one of those ones where I think it should be a separation of that as its own event, an own type of thing, and then moving towards an event with the LCK and LPL could be something that you could do. I think that would be one of the ways to implement a leveling up, a tournament type of format where you can have this and then still have the involvement of the LCK and LPL.
Now, as doom and gloom as it all is right now, again, things can change. If G2 or Lion win, either one of them, really, they don't both need to win. If either win the next series, then we're going, oh, never mind, they deserve to be here. We forget about all the other stuff. That still seems unlikely right now based on the games we've seen, but the narrative changes very quickly at such a whirlwind, rapid pace kind of tournament like this.
I mean, yeah, if we're able to see those strong performances, yeah, the narrative, at least about this first stand, changes a little bit, gives it a little bit more life, whatever. But I still think it is one of these angles where, again, it's just been another iteration, another example that we have seen about how things play out on the international stage. Never mind, MSI or Worlds, but especially early season on the international stage. It isn't working, and it is one of these ones where you can quickly envision that you have to find different avenues of sorting these teams out to find the competitive angle, to find the fire tournament that you want to be having. And I think the fans truly do deserve this early in the year.
I mean, absolutely. I think anytime there was the third international thing being announced, people didn't really care the details about the format. They were just happy to have another one. And of course, we can never be satisfied because when the West gets kind of pumped, and all of a sudden we don't want a tournament. But I've seen people say, also, let's just make sure we get NA versus EU at these events. That's how you kind of save yes, we know the East is a whole lot better, but at least we can take pride in the real championship, which is NA versus EU. So we need these at international events.
Yeah, I think that is absolutely something that can be a very immediately type of thing that you could try to implement within a scheduling, within a formatting for these events, is understanding that, yes, having at the very least that type of matchup, that type of head-to-head where you can either A, rivalry purposes, or simply just off of that perspective of who is that next up, right? Is it the LCS? Is it the LEC? Is it going to be the CB LOL getting, all those type of conversations I think are really valuable, but they're not the same conversation, right, as throwing everybody just right in to the fire pit with GenG, with BFX, all these type of things. So yeah, I think that is one of those things that it will be the conversation as you move forward and away from this event as well.
Even if it's a pair of sweeps in the next matchup, MSI rolls around, we're all going to come back with a fresh dose of hopium that maybe, just maybe this time, the upset is there for the West.
I'm not going to be fooled if it's GenG on the other side, though. I think
yes.
This time...
Well, they get the asterisks. Any team but GenG, maybe.
Yeah, I'll let myself be delusional for anybody else, but I think I've been burned too many times to look across the Summoner's Rift, see Chovy and the GenG sign and go, we got a chance to... Before I can even get those words out of my mouth, it's 3-0 at that point.
Well, the expectations are all-time low for the West, so now's the time to show up, surprise, and put up some valiant efforts against BNK and JDG. And we'll be back to break down however those series end up playing out. But that is it today for League Unlock. Eric and Mark here with you, Stunners. Thanks for hanging out as always, and we will catch you on that flippity flip.